recording again. Alright, so let's think about some other things we can do with JSoup. I'm going to try and load a document from a URL. So let's do the following. Instead of JSoup parse, what I will do is get a document from www.docjava.com. Now, what could possibly go wrong here? An exception. Put it in the method signature, and then we'll run. Oh wow! So here are all the hrefs inside of the document. Cool. I like it. Let's find, I've got an idea. Let's find a different document to parse within my web page. Let's find something with some data on it. Like here, I've got this thing about online brokers. What do you suppose would happen if it encountered JavaScript that was dynamically generated by Google Docs? Nothing good, I imagine. Right? Maybe that's too complicated. Let's try this. That looks like a table. Let's take this table and let's put it into our URL. Run the program. I don't think there's any anchor text in there, and there isn't. And now what we'll do is try and select something different. Let's try and select elements, and then we'll say TDs equals doc select, and then what we'll do is we'll just say something like this. TD and end quote end paren sem, and then we'll print all the table data. How about that? So now I get all the table data elements. Looks like there's table data with a non-breaking space in it. So that sort of works. Now let's compare that with URL utils dot get table to CSV and we'll put in the URL. New URL of end quote, oh, like this, and alt enter, and what's his problem now? Add exception to method signature, semicolon, and what's that by me? A string. So we put in the string s equals, and now let's have a looky-loo and see what happens. S out, Control J, enter, S. Alrighty. So what I got over in here with table data, let's compare and contrast with what happened when I took the whole table and converted it into a comma-separated value. Right? This is pretty cool, right? This I could practically paste straight into Microsoft Excel with comma-separated values. It ended everything with a comma, but I could live with that. If things were blank, it put the extra comma in there so that maintain semantic meaning on the columns. Now let's take this data and compare it with the actual data that we see here on the web page. And if we go down to the bottom, we can see, sure enough, Marsco says it's $90 when you call him on the phone. We look over in here at our, yeah, there it is. So we've stripped out all of the table data. We've preserved the rows. We used the table data demarcation to insert commas, which is a perfectly reasonable thing to do, I think. Although, if you don't like commas, you can put in tabs or whatever it is you like to use for Excel. I like the commas. So this makes a whole lot of sense to me. That's reasonable. Now, what would happen if you did the same thing with these Yahoo statistics? There's something in here about key statistics, right? Okay, so I've got these tables, but there's multiple tables here. So let's use that for a URL and shove it into this this little helper app and see what happens. What could possibly go wrong? Well, actually, it's not so bad, right? Check it out. I'm getting a lot of fluff, but there's a bunch of good data in here, and it looks like the data is pretty well organized. What do you think of that? Now you could say, "Oh, Professor Lyon, how did you do that?" Go ahead, say it. Well, I just called this thingy, and it's a get table to CSV, and it uses the editor kit. Oh, how about that? And then it uses an HTML editor parser, and the HTML editor parser, yeah, it says here, convert a table of HTML tags into CSV. So he looks for the end table tag, and if it's the end of a row, he puts in a new line. Otherwise, if it's the end of table data, he puts in a comma. And it looks like he has a way to even keep the URLs if he encounters them. So that's pretty cool, actually. Could you have done this with JSoup? I don't know. I guess. I you know. Would it have been cleaner and easier if you did it with JSoup? Well, gee, I don't know. This is pretty clean, actually. Of course, interpreting the data and setting up a data structure and doing the parsing is no easier, because when you take table data and convert it to CSV, the only thing you're really doing is making strings. You're not actually trying to parse any data or convert it into any particular primitive data type. So that's, basically pushing a lot of the problems down the road a piece. On the other hand, it gives you a general utility for parsing table data, which you can then use to completely ignore all the HTML in your code.
That's what we did for the first thing we did, right?
Yeah, pretty close. Yes, sir. Oh, I can click on that and make it go away. That's showing an anonymous inner class. So what I did was I created an implementation of an HTML document which provided a way to get a reader which returns a parser callback. That's part of the inversion of control thing. He did the same thing here for the tag stripper. This is a new thing with IntelliJ 13. IntelliJ 13 never used to do that. It's putting in those arrows every time it sees an anonymous inner class. I frankly don't care for that because it's hiding important code, I think, and making it harder to read, in my opinion. But I guess they figured that was a reasonable default for whatever reason. So what else can I do to help you gentlemen and ladies out? Kyle's done. He told me. You're done, right, Kyle? Ready to hand it in now? You want to show everybody else your solution to the midterm? You're a week ahead of time. Maybe I should add some more features.
I'll wait.
You're going to wait?
Yeah.
Okay. What else? JSoup? More JSoup? I like this idea of sanitizing untrusted HTML. It says it will clean my HTML. And then it will avoid the XSS attacks. What is that? You guys know about this? An XML style sheet? Is that what that is? I really don't know. I never heard of such a thing. So can I put XSS attacks on my website and attack everyone who visits me?
Tutorial.
Oh, look, there's a tutorial. Let's find out what it is before we go visiting threatening sites. It says cross-site scripting, a computer security vulnerability in web applications, XSS file, visual. What is this? You guys know about these things? Kyle, you work for the big shots. They must know about this. The safety people, right? What? What? I said, don't you work for ITS or something?
What's the question?
Oh, what is XSS? JSoup cleans your HTML and gets rid of the XSS that's untrusted. Is that good? It's like Radio Shack here. You got questions, we got dumb looks. He's shaking his head going,
I don't work for the security team.
Oh, okay.
If somebody says, if we find that somebody has a virus, I send it to the security team.
Okay.
I'm like the, yeah. Like
all right.
Printer, if you can't connect to a printer, I can help you with that.
Thank you.
If it's like changing network permissions or something, I don't do that. I just send it to the teams.
Gotcha.
I can't do that.
Yeah, I know a little bit about it.
I have very limited time.
I know nothing about it. I'm here to profess my total ignorance. It says cross-site scripting, a security exploit in which attackers insert malicious coding into a link that appears to be from a trustworthy source. When someone clicks on the link, the embedded program is submitted as part of the client's web request and can execute on the user's computer, allowing the attacker to steal information. All right. So some people find that Java is not secure. Okay? Because when you visit on a website, if you run a Java program, you're running the program on demand. Okay, so this leads to the basic question. If you could run a program on demand without permission just by virtue of visiting a website, would you? No. Not no, but heck no. Why? Because if you went to shareware.com and started installing computer programs willy-nilly on your Windows system, it would become infected in a nanosecond. Because you can't just trust random programs on the web, right? Right. Because the web is a dangerous place with lots of bad people on it who do bad things. And they know it's bad. So you can run Java programs on demand just by visiting web pages. Does that sound dangerous? Yes, Professor Lang. Very dangerous. What would make it safe? Where does Java get its security? It gets it from feature limitations when it's an untrusted, uncertified, certificate is correct. Java says we will allow you to avoid the security manager if you want to run trusted. And you can run it trusted if it's signed with a certificate, which is correct. But if it's unsigned and untrusted, where do you get your security? Right? Basic Java question. Where does Java security come from when it's an untrusted applet running in your web browser? Where is it? I'm sorry.
User preferences?
User preferences. No, in fact, the place it gets its security from is through its feature limitations. An instance of the security manager is created, and it limits the features that you can make use of within your Java program. And those features that are limited inside of what's known as the Java sandbox include the inability to open a socket to a server not yours, the inability to open up a file, the inability to open up audio stream to the microphone or a web camera stream. In fact, if you think about where Java gets its security limits, they're all from the security manager. They require that you change the security with permission so that you can access some of these things like the file system. So when we think about Java security with its feature limits, those feature limits come from what's called the sandbox. And when you're in the sandbox, it's supposed to be safe. So Java is supposed to be safe as long as you stay inside the sandbox, and the hole in the security would come if you were able to play outside of the sandbox without permission. So then the question becomes, why is it so dangerous for people to open up a WebSocket to something other than the server? What could possibly go wrong with a rogue program able to do networking to something other than the secure server from whence it came? And the answer is, well, you could go to Gmail, for example, and you could send an email and make it look like it's coming from your machine. Well, what's so bad about that? Right? That's the president comment that I made earlier. You could send death threats to the president, and that's a felony. So you don't want to do that. So if we were of a mind, we could try and create our own mail client, right? And that's a perfectly legitimate thing to do in a network programming class. And in fact, if you go under my network package, you can find examples of mail clients. And here's one in Gmail, a Gmail client, an email client. I wonder if this will work. Something wrong here. Let's try a different one. One of them should work. Ah, he doesn't like my username and password. That's legitimate. So when you are dealing with a mail server, you need to use a mail server protocol. And the Simple Message Transfer Protocol, or SMTP, is a standard protocol for which there is what's known as an RFC. The RFC stands for Request for Comment. And the request for comment is often put out by the Internet folks in order to be able to determine whether or not people want to use a new protocol. So when they devise an RFC, and you can typically find out about these things, you'll see that the RFC is going to be documented for something like SMTP. And you'll see this is a fairly old protocol. Look, it was formatted like on a typewriter or something, from 1982. Right? So SMTP protocol, that dates back a while. This is like 15 years before the web was invented. Right? Because they had email for a long time. And so now you can see the SMTP commands, the syntax, the error codes that can result. And so now if you look at it in that light, what you're really doing is you're creating a simple TCP/IP socket stream, and then you're communicating with the server using text. And the mail transfer agent is completely text-based. And what it's going to do is it's going to take the mail that you forward using your commands for logging in and setting up a password, and then proceeding to send the email with whatever attachments you have through the system using a store and forward technology. Basic stuff like here comes a data with carriage return line feed, or here's a standard mail from, and then it says OK, and then it says recipient to, and then you can keep identifying recipients to, and then you could send a single email to a series of different individuals. These are all on the ARPANET, the Advanced Research Project Agency Network. This is before they had like .com. And then you could put in your data, and then you could end it. So these are actually the protocol commands which are being issued to the SMTP server. Isn't that cool? And you can simulate all those commands or actually execute them with an SMTP server, such as Gmail, which has an SMTP server. There's also APIs which do these commands for you and give you nice wrappers from within Java so that you can do invocations. So there's a Java Mail API, which will let you do this kind of network programming, which is really very cool because if you think about it, being able to send an email is the ultimate interface for your network of things. Right? Your network of things could be, for example, the sensor that says, oh, you're out of oil, better go order some more oil, and sends an email out to the delivery service so that you can get some oil. Right? So if you think about it, there are all these different interesting and wonderful things you can do with sensors, and maybe when they communicate back to you about important information like, oh, the delivery person is here, right? They're coming up the driveway. They send you an email onto your, what, mobile device, right? Your Android thing or your iPhone thing or whatever they call it. Or they what do they do? They twit you, or is that what they call it? They tweet you. They tweet you. So there should be a way in which you can interface your networked embedded thing into the network so that it notifies you when stuff happens. And so sending out an email might be a perfectly reasonable thing for your sensor to do. Isn't that cool? Humor me. Yes, Professor Lyon. Very cool. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, never mind. So, last chance. Any more questions on this midterm? You're all so quiet. All right, well, have a good evening. And if you have any more questions, You can send them to me, but I'm going to CC the answers to everyone, and I'll try and anonymize it. Anonymize it. Anonymize it. Anonymize it.
Okay. Make it anonymous.
Make it anonymous.